A little while back I did a video about Fighting Fantasy Adventures, a recently released card game, and in that I said some positive things about Escape the Dark Castle. Since then I've worried that people might watch that video and think I'm recommending this game, which I wouldn't do. So when I heard there's a second edition coming out later in 2026, I thought I'd better set the record straight with actually what my opinions of Escape the Dark Castle are. Firstly, I'd say Escape the Dark Castle is doing something right. It was wildly popular. It's got like a 7.3 on Board Game Geek, which is quite high for what it is. At the UK Board Game Exposition up at the NEC in Birmingham a couple of years ago, I remember being quite surprised at the long queues at the stand for this company's games. It was this one and their sequel, Escape the Dark Sector. They've also got merch. Also, my niece, or one of my nieces, said this was her favourite game when I asked her what that would be. I don't see it myself. What I'll do is I'll show you how to play this, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the second edition is going to be offering. So the first thing I'd say is a positive. Escape the Dark Castle looks great. It's got this monochrome thing going on, and the artwork throughout is this monochrome. Now, some people think that's quite atmospheric, and I don't disagree with them. But I think it's really about the nostalgia, and this was where I made a positive in my previous video. This game is all about nostalgia. This is about looking like a fighting fantasy game, looking like the old illustrations from the first couple of books back in the early 80s. It's not about creating anything new itself, and I think the nostalgia element is perhaps why this was so successful, because I don't feel there's that much game to this in the box. That said, although I've got the the other side of it the wrong way around. My daughter looked at this with some other games that were knocking around recently when we were looking for one to play, and she immediately put this aside and said, no, this one's too ugly. So if you're not from the generation that remembers fighting fantasy and that sort of very specific monochrome art, you might get put off, because I can't disagree actually. Some of these cards are really ugly. We'll have a look in a moment. Right, the rule book is quite a short little thing, because like I say, there's not an awful lot of game here. I said about, oh no, that's not the merch, is it? That's just about the downloadable app. Components, setup, playing the game is like one page, then item cards, combat, and playing solo. You really don't need this single paragraph on playing solo. And then an advert. That's it. That's your rule book. Pretty simple stuff. Now, spoiler alert, I'm going to show some cards, and I'm just randomly going to take some. Some of them might be from an expansion set as well, because I do have some expansion material here. Here you go. You can see that the art can be very evocative of those early fighting fantasy games. Trying to get this lined up with the camera isn't great. No great talent for that. But it can also be, and this is the next card just by chance, extremely ugly. So my youngest daughter was correct. Very ugly. Here's another very ugly one. You get the idea. It's not... But then I suppose fighting fantasy, some of that was quite horrific as well. But how does this game play, and what are my problems with it? So the first thing you're going to do is choose one of these characters. None of them are that exciting. We got Tanners, Millers, Smiths. You get the idea. General townsfolk you're going to be, not adventurers as such. Behind them on the wall, and I think this is a nice touch, you've got symbols showing what their dedicated dice will be able to roll. So this chap here, the Smith, is most likely to roll might, followed by wisdom, but he's not very cunning. Find one who is cunning. Oh, here we go. The Miller. The miller, very cunning, look. And then once you've chosen your character, you'll get one of the dedicated dice, which are very nice and very chunky. You can see these are not small dice. So that's character selection. None of these characters are that exciting, and the drawings do not always make them look their best. Like, do you really want to be playing this guy? Really? And I know she's a prisoner, but that's not what we all dream of being in a fantasy game, is it? Okay, right. How do we play? First off, you randomly choose a boss card. Then, you randomly choose 15 cards to go on top of the boss. These are chapter cards. Just so you understand what that means in terms of contents, I think there's 48 cards in the base box, chapter cards, so you're using a third of them every time you play. You're going to get used to what these are quite soon. Next, we're going to put the first card on top. There we go, setup done. I suppose that's a positive, it's quick and easy to set up. Then what you do is you turn this over like a book and do what it says on the card. The first card says you've just escaped. That's kind of escaped your cell. That's kind of the limit of the story here. We're not going to get any background to any of our characters. You've escaped the cell in the dark castle. Take an item. So each character gets an item when they first escape the cell, and items are rubbish. So this one, infested cheese wheel. Another great fantasy trope. A partially rotten apple. Lovely. Stale loaf of bread. And if you're really lucky, you'll get something like this, a decayed blade. There are not many good items in the box. You're allowed to carry 2 items per character, but you can always eat the apple, can't you, to get rid of it. Right, so you got your items. The next thing you do is turn over the next chapter card, but before you do, you've got to decide who's going to turn it over, because something awful might happen, like a stone fall on your head or something. Again, spoiler alert, here we go. What have we got? Oh, straight out the gate, we're attacked by what looks like a werewolf. So you'll do the thing it says, and it might say, roll some dice and see what happens. Then you turn the next one over and do what it says. Again, you've got to decide who goes in the room first. Oh, here we go. Here's a combat. You can see at the bottom of this card we've got some symbols. This guy does 1 damage to you every time he attacks. What do these symbols at the bottom here mean? Well, this means he will get his black dice. These are known as chapter dice. So he will get 1 fist, because there's a fist symbol there, and then there's a meeple symbol, which means 1 die for each adventurer. So if we have 3 adventurers, we'd roll another 3, and we'd see that to beat this person, we have to roll 2 might, an eye, and a star. So we'll get our 3 players' dice, and I've just randomly selected these for the first round of combat. That's only if all 3 of us decide to be in the battle. You can, if you wish, stand back for a round and get 1 health point back. Let's say we're all in the battle. Oh, that's nice. This eye knocks out that eye. This double fist knocks out those fists. And also there's a shield, so I wouldn't have taken any damage had the ogre attacked. Is he an ogre? I don't know what he is, I don't care. This one knocks out this wisdom and also gives me a shield. But because he's got no black dice left, this monster is dead on the first roll. Aren't I lucky? If he hadn't been dead on the first roll, everyone involved in the attack would have taken 1 damage. So actually he's not that dangerous. Perhaps he's just a prisoner or something. Oh, it doesn't matter. You get the idea. That's combat. And then you carry on. You carry on all the way down until you've done the 15 cards. You get to the door, and then behind the door is a slightly more vicious person. So, Token Nerd, what's your big problem with Escape the Dark Castle? It all looks like it's quite nicely produced. The dice are nice. The cards are big and chunky. The art is nostalgic. I'll tell you what my problem is. It's the strategic and tactical choices. So strategically, you have no options. You simply turn the card until you get to the end. That's your strategy. Roll the dice when you need to and hope for the best. That's your strategy. Tactical options, you've got barely anything. You've got who goes into a room first. That's a tactical option. You've got who carries what of the poultry items, like who's going to get the rotten apple, who's going to get that disgusting wheel of cheese. Not much of a tactical option. And lastly, who's going to stand out of a fight to get their measly 1 health point back. That's it in total. As far as I can tell, that's all your tactical options. You might get an item that gives you a little bit of something else. So, is it actually even a game? It's going to just surely unfold with an inevitability, and it kind of does. Now that's the massive problem with this game. I will say some other positives. I have had fun with it, but that's in the kind of knowledge that that's all I'm going to get. There's nothing else here. But there is a second edition coming. What is the second edition going to bring? Well, as I understand it, it is not this game. It is a complete rebuild. It will offer unique character skills and abilities, which will immediately make that choice more interesting of who you're going to be. All of the art is redone, so whilst I hope they retain the nostalgia, I hope they get rid of some of the creepiness that there is in this game. On top of that, there'll be a way to build the dungeon deck, the 15 cards, so that you won't get really, really dangerous cards first off. There's some complaints that the first monster deals 3 damage per round and a couple of bad rolls, and you're all you're all going home with limbs missing if you get home at all. So it was too hard too quickly. It was not a problem I ever had with it, to be honest. I mean, the cards were the cards were the cards. I didn't really care one way or another whether they turned up early or late. You had a certain amount of health and it just gradually ran out. But I suppose people didn't want to die on card 1. They preferred to die on card 14, whatever. So yeah, a way to stack the dungeon so that it will be increasing difficulty. And I suppose that allows you to gear up with some of the items. There will be better items in the new game. So if we've got new items, new card deck system, and new characters and new art, we're almost at a new game. And I'm hoping there'll be new tactical options as well around battle, and the kind of rumours are that there will be. Basically, if you own Escape the Dark Castle Edition 1, you're out of date. So for me, the best thing about Escape the Dark Castle is that it's quite a small box. So for now, it can stay in my collection. Occasionally, I'll get it out, I'll roll with my random luck, I'll have a little adventure in the dungeon, enjoy the nostalgia and the quick setup time. It's a space filler for when I don't feel doing anything more intelligent. But I don't recommend it. I would never say to anyone, you must go out and get this game, because I just don't think it's that good. The second edition sounds like a massive improvement. The company's done well, and I wish them all the best with it. And it will be interesting to see what they do and whether it is an entirely new game. And with regards to this first edition, your mileage may vary. Like I say, it was wildly popular. For me, if I was going to advise something that's similar, might scratch the same itch. Well, it hasn't got the nostalgia, but these are great. One Deck Dungeon and the sequel, One Deck Dungeon Forest of Shadows. These offer interesting characters that level up in an interesting way with interesting tactical options. I won't go into how they play now. I just wanted to suggest something similar that will give you that short setup time, interesting adventure type of game. If I were you though, I would probably just like and subscribe to this channel so that whenever I'm moaning about another board game, you can be the first to know about it. Other than that, have a great day. See you soon.